Welcome, people, to season 2, episode 1 of the All Gunners podcast. I am Hazza Kanu, back with a vengeance after a little bit of a delay, no doubt. But I can't introduce myself without introducing my brother from another mother, my co-host, my fellow gooner, and that is Zed Zafar. How we doing, my friend?
Hey, Harry, I'm all right, man. I'm just feeling a bit surreal. We haven't done this for a while, and I'm like,
Ages, mate,
what? I'm
ages.
like, I forgot how to do this, but you know what? I'm
I,
gonna
you know
wing
what
it.
I've missed? I've missed that. Hey, Harry. I really have missed that, man. You can't beat that, mate. Every week on a Sunday. Yes,
Well,
yes,
yeah, well, I'm consistent. If nothing, I'm consistent, right? Even after months,
absolutely.
I'm still bloody consistent, right?
Absolutely. It's giving me
But yeah,
tingles, guys. Giving me tingles. But yeah, look. The thing is, mate, is I was gonna say, is it a bit of an omen? Arsenal, top of the league at the moment. We haven't done a podcast. I mean, does that mean that once we start now getting the swing of things, Arsenal lose on Boxing Day, we're gonna have a lot of
oh,
angry gooners, aren't we?
mate, what have you just said? Bloody hell, Harry, what have you just said? You've just killed us. I'm logging off now.
Or it might propel us to winning the league. Hey,
You, well, the way you phrased it, if anything happens, we're getting thrown out of the internet instantly by every
mate, I'm,
single
I'm
Gunner
coming.
fan
I'm coming
ever.
off Twitter, mate. If that happens, honestly,
Forget Twitter, delete every single social media you have because we will get
absolutely,
crucified. Even if one
absolutely.
loss, everyone's just going to believe, oh yeah, these morons came back. And you know what?
And
Arsenal's just gone.
I won't, Zed, be able to plug my interview on AFTV that took place at the end of the Wolves game, which I also watched
Oh yeah,
live
mate,
at the
you're famous
stadium.
now, yeah? You're
I
famous
don't know
now.
about famous, but 15K views and some decent comments. Not doing too bad. Not doing too bad at all.
Well, there you go. There's a new presenter in the making,
Not a
right?
plug. Definitely not a plug. Anyway, let's get into this, Ed. Let's get into it
Go on,
because
go
we
on, mate.
said today we were going to keep it nice and short. And guys, listen, for everybody listening, we are promising to get back into the swing of things. We're going to bring you guests. We're going to bring you people. We're going to bring you gooners, non-gooners, manx, dirty manx, whatever you want to call them. We're going to bring them and we're going to talk everything Arsenal. However, I do want to also plug our podcast that we are going to also be, aren't we, Zed? We're going to be talking World Cup, aren't we? We're
Absolutely,
not.
mate.
We're
Absolutely.
not. We're not. We're not going to give us. We're not. Due to our unreliability, we're not going to be telling you that we're going to be streaming every week or after every game. But you're going to find us back on the internet, aren't we, Zed? Tell
Absolutely.
the views a little
Absolutely.
bit more about that, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we've tried to plan to come back with a lot more vigor, a lot more enthusiasm, right? Life got in the
And
way,
with
things got in
cameras,
the
I
way.
think, isn't that right?
Well, yeah, absolutely, mate. You can steal
Don't
stupid
tell
mug.
don't tell everyone about what we've been doing the last 45 minutes trying to get the cameras working.
No,
Edit that bit out. Edit that bit out.
all right. I'm leaving that in. People should know the tech struggles for
Yeah,
this.
it's been a struggle, and it's been a struggle.
It's been a struggle for the last hour trying to get cameras working so you could see our stupid mugs, but hey ho,
Yeah,
we'll have to wait for that. So we are
yeah,
going to cover the World Cup. As Harry says, we don't know how yet. We'll figure it out, but we are
yeah.
going to be covering the World Cup. It's something that happens every 4 years. We should be covering it,
We
right?
will be.
So we
We
will
will
be doing
be.
some live streams, and you'll see us very, very soon. But before
Yeah,
that, let's get back
let's do
onto
this.
Arsenal.
Let's do this. So yeah, Arsenal then said. I mean, 14 games, quarter of the season done. I mean, what I wanted to just talk about with you today is what the season highlights have been so far. I mean, there's so many, isn't there? I mean, that
Absolutely, man.
cliche, isn't it? Isn't it the cliche that everybody says, "Would you have took top of the table, 5 points clear, if you was offered that at the top of the season?"
Well, yeah, of
Hell
course,
yeah,
but hell yeah, but I mean, I don't think any Arsenal fan or any
never.
football fan expected this. I mean, we're about 36% of the season through, 14 games, just for the math nerds out there, right? Uh, 14 games, 12 win, one stupid loss, a Man U. We'll get
Yeah,
to that.
we're gonna get to that. Yeah,
Yeah, 33 goals scored, 11 conceded. Let that sink in.
amazing.
11 conceded in 14 games. And remember, we've played Liverpool, Tottenham in that 14. So it's not just we've had an
And
easy run.
Chelsea, and Chelsea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Chelsea,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
and 7 clean sheets. That is absolutely an amazing performance
yeah, yeah.
by the Gunners. by Mikel Arteta,
Best ever
and
start. Yeah,
best ever start in Arsenal's history now, isn't it? I think
yeah,
it's been
absolutely is. Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
stupendous. I think every word that we can find in the dictionary for excellent, good, that's been it.
yeah.
It's been absolutely brilliant. The team has clicked. Everything has just worked. Not everything has been perfect, but
No,
you expect that from a young team.
well,
But
yeah.
considering the age of this team and where they are playing,
You just couldn't
and
make it up. Yeah.
no, you couldn't. And it's proving the age old thing. Whereas if you stick by a manager and back your manager, maybe you can see the results. But
Well, we're going to get onto that, Zed. We're
yeah,
going to get onto
absolutely,
that. Let
absolutely,
me tell you where it
absolutely, mate.
started for me. Let me tell you
Go
where it
on,
started
go
for
on.
me because everybody's going to go talk about most of your podcasts, most of your commentators are going to say, "Oh, it was that performance away at Palace where Arsenal showed a lot." But I happen to think a lot of people might look at that and go, "Oh, one game in, that's a little bit of a." It's a good performance, but it's a bit of a fluke. And yeah, okay, we wouldn't expect Arsenal to necessarily go on the way they have. You know where it started
Mhm.
for me? It
Go on.
started in
Well,
pre-season, Zed. It started in pre-season because,
are you saying the Sevilla game 6-0?
well, we were absolutely smashing it. I'm talking about Chelsea,
Ah, yeah,
the
yeah,
game for the
4-0.
US. Yeah,
The 4
absolutely.
0.
I saw the click then, if I'm honest with you. And don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not gonna be one of these. "Oh, I told you so. I knew this was gonna happen."
Yeah.
Absolutely, I did not know that this was gonna happen. But what I did see
No, no.
is I thought if the team can even go through the first part of the season with even half as playing as good as they have been, this team could do something. But I tell you, for me, it even goes before then. And actually, those who go on to listen to the interview I did at AFTV is I
Yeah.
said that there were signs of this last year.
They were,
Actually,
they were, they were.
when Party was fit, and when we had our full team, I say that with inverted commas. We haven't got our cameras on, unfortunately, at
Yeah.
the moment. But I say that with inverted. When we have had our full team, we were putting performances out that actually I thought, do you know something? If this team stays fit, this team could do something. And we have generally been, let's be honest, as Arsenal. I mean, we've had our injuries, we've had Party out for a few games,
Yeah, yeah.
but when he's back, he's relatively stayed fit. We've been quite fortunate with our injuries this year. We haven't
We
lost
have,
our
we have,
front men to well, we haven't lost Saka really at
we haven't
all.
lost Saka,
Jesus
Martinelli.
as Martinelli has been absolutely so. We've been, I'd say, fortunate with injuries, but that's where the start of it was for me. And I'm not saying, like, as I say, I told you so, but there's
Hmm.
some highlights Zed, that I want to ask you about. Really,
Go
is
on, go on.
give me two or three of your favourite highlights. I mean, for me, I've said obviously I've mentioned that one of the highlights. Not many people talk about it was pre-season. I'm
Yep.
going to also talk about when you ask me in a minute about Brentford. That performance
Yeah, yeah,
away
yeah.
at Brentford was big for me. But give me a
Excellent.
couple of
Yeah.
your highlights, Zed.
I think the difference has been from the team last year. So last year Arsenal were good but inconsistent, right? That was the biggest thing. That's why Arsenal lost out on top four, right? The biggest thing was at the tail end of the season when the injuries hit, as you correctly pointed out already, Arsenal just looked flat. There wasn't anything there. And over the years, let's say even back in the great Arsene Wenger days,
Mm,
Arsenal as a team have been criticized for having no backbone. So what I saw this season, the highlight for me were two games, and they were very early on in the season. So second game of the season, Arsenal versus Leicester, right? So we've seen so many times Arsenal dominate the games, take a lead, but then the other team gets back into it. They get a goal, right? As soon as they get a goal, the Arsenal team of the age old will just go flat. That's it. Job done.
mm.
We
We've
won't
seen
come
that.
back.
We've
We've
seen that.
seen that.
Yeah.
We've seen that, right? So what you call is that's what happened in what you call the game against Leicester. Arsenal go 2-0 up, right? Then there's an own goal. Leicester's back in it. They're playing good. But immediately, Xhaka scores. Then they
Yeah.
go down again from Madison. But immediately, there's a response within a minute from Martinelli. Right? What that shows me is this team is not willing to just take it like it used to be. These guys are now trained. They're well trained. They know their roles. They know how the fluid system is. But most importantly, the mentality is there. And that, again, was on show in the second game that I'm going to highlight. So, what you're asking me about my highlights, my second
Yeah.
highlight was Fulham, right? 2-1 was the final score. But when you're watching the game, Fulham were in the game. They were countering. They
Fulham are
were
a
in the
good team. They're a force,
Fulham.
aren't they, this
Fulham
season?
are a very, very good team, and Marco Silva has got a tune out of all
He's,
of these players.
he's got them
And I
playing,
think,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely, Marco Silva has finally found a team that he can coach his way and stick to it. Right? That
Mitrovic.
Mitrovic, honestly, he's got all of these players playing absolutely out of their skin, and they are a threat. They will easily survive the season, I think. They're not going down. Fulham in recent time have been a yo-yo team, but they are playing too well to go down, right? But going back to the Arsenal game, right, is the error from Gabriel leading to Mitrovic's goal,
Yeah.
right? In recent history, even let's go back 5 6 years, in when Arsenal go down, especially from an era when we've got the likes of Mustafi, what you call in defence, and his confidence shot, the whole team's confidence shot, and that's the game Arsenal would have lost at home,
Yes.
going 1-0 down. Arsenal would have lost it.
The typical Arsenal loss, yeah.
Typical Arsenal loss, right? Go down, dominating the game, then go down from an era, and that's it. Everything's gone. But the highlight is it changes. Odegaard gets back in, and then Gabriel gets the goal from the corner. And this guy is a force from a corner. He is dangerous from a
He's
corner,
just
as
got
he's
that
proved.
mental strength about him, hasn't he? Where he
Yeah,
saw that he was disappointed with his error,
yeah,
which led to the goal.
yes,
And it was
absolutely.
almost written in the stars, wasn't it, Zed, that game
Absolutely.
where
And it was beautiful to watch. That's
I'm
all I have
pretty
to say.
sure even the commentary said something about like, this is Gabriel now. Will he atone for his error? And there we
Yeah,
go.
exactly. And there we go. And
He did.
he's been a threat from the corner. He reminds me of Prime Koscielny, if you remember him, right?
I tell you something, and the Gooners
Yeah,
may not agree with me here, Zed, and you may not
go
agree with
on,
me.
go on.
Gabby's the first name on the team sheet for me, and
I
I'll
think
tell
he
you
is.
why. I'll tell you
I think
why.
I actually won't disagree with you, even though
That,
he is.
that's a rare occasion, isn't it? That's a rare occasion, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
in this case, I don't disagree with you.
don't ask me which game it was, but it was. I think it was it was the game I think we lost to PSV Eindhoven. Don't quote me on this. Away at
Hmm.
Eindhoven, the game that we lost in the
Yeah,
Europa League group stage, and it was when Gabriel didn't start, and then as soon as we brought him on, we started to get a lot more defensively compact and back to Arsenal that we have known this season. And I
yeah,
just said straight away, and I could see all over social media, you see why Gabriel plays? He
yeah.
is prone to a mistake,
Of
but I
course,
tell
of
you
course.
something, he will. You bet your bottom dollar that he'll go and atone for it, and he did, didn't he, in that game?
He did, he did. I mean, things don't always work out this way. I do want to point
No,
that out. But
no, you need a bit of luck, don't you? You always
of
do.
course, of
Yeah,
course, and Arsenal have been lucky this season. But you have to take risk to be lucky. The luck is earned by taking risks, and Arsenal have stuck to their guns, playing the way the manager wants to play in that whole controlling game situation in that high line with five attackers. He wants
yeah.
to do that, right? He wants his defenders to be mobile, and they've done it. And boy, oh boy, the additions from last summer's transfer window and from this summer's transfer window
Well, that
have
was your
played.
other highlight that you wanted to touch on, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I want to emphasize people think bringing in Zinchenko, Jesus, and Saliba has been the change. Yes, it has, but they were the final pieces of the puzzle. The puzzle has been worked on for the last 2 years, right?
Yeah,
Gabriel, who you're saying is now the first name on the team sheet, was brought in 2 years ago. And you know what? He's made his way into the team and has solidified the position. You got Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, Ben White. I mean, bloody hell, Ben White. We paid 50 million for as a centre back, and everyone's like, "Oh
what
yeah,
a player!
overpayment." You play him at right back, and he looks at home.
What a
He's
player!
he's keeping Tomiyasu out of the team for how
Yeah.
good he is. I think he's the best England right back right now.
I would agree, and we
And
are
and,
gonna
and, and
talk about England guys over the next
we
few
are.
weeks, and we
But
are
that's
gonna
a
be
hot take.
talking.
But that's a hot take, mate. Yeah,
That's a it's a hot take, and actually it's one that I agree with you. But this
yeah,
is that's probably for another pod, I'd say,
yeah,
Zed. But look, whilst you were talking,
yeah.
I actually typed something in my notes, and I'll tell the viewers, sorry, the listeners. It would have been viewers had the cameras worked, but let's not go there. Um, Chaka boom is what I have.
Ah, boom
Talk to
shakalaka
me
is what you
about
said.
Granite. Talk to me about my midfielder My guy,
My guy now, is it? My guy now, is it?
I have to take him. I have to take him. And you know, I know what you're going to say here because you're going to bring up. Oh, I've been telling you for years this guy's
Yep.
quality. Yeah, you, and I've got nothing to say. Chaka, boom.
Look, we both agreed. Look, and
I've
there are,
always said, to be fair to you, Zed, I've always said that he's important to the lineup, and I've always said, you know, because I'm not massive on stats, but I've always said our win rate with him in the team is much more superior. We lose more games when he's not in the team, so obviously I've always said that to you, but I've
yep,
always been really, really annoyed by his silliness. That he's displayed at times, but
yep.
he's been like the model student, hasn't he, this year, this
So
season
far, so
so
far.
far?
Right. But I am gonna go back and let's be honest, right? Every single Arsenal fan at a point has hated, and I'm gonna use the word hated Granit Xhaka and wanted him at
Probably.
the club.
Yeah,
Right?
probably.
He's been almost out of the club 2 or 3 times. Roma came in. What you call Mourinho really wanted him when he joined Roma, and I think they came in twice. He was on his way out. Mikel made him work. And you know what the thing was? If you look at Xhaka for Switzerland and if you look at Xhaka for Arsenal, they were playing in a different role, right?
Yeah.
He was Thomas Partey before Thomas Partey came in, right? And let's be honest, everyone has seen him play that, and they're like, yeah, he's not the best at it, right? He's not the best in the challenge. He does do defensive work. He's good when he can be, but he's hot-headed, right? He loses himself, and he's been prone to get a red card and a yellow card. It's not just Arsenal. It was the same in Bundesliga when he was playing for Mönchengladbach, right? It was the same thing. That's just his character. But the
Mm.
way, and this is the credit I'm going to give not just Xhaka. Xhaka deserves credit for turning his career around and becoming one of the premium midfielders of the season, right? But, and that takes mental strength, by the way, but the credit has to go to the manager here because the manager has seen what his strength is and seen what his weakness is, right?
Yeah.
He's taken him out of that weakness role, which is to play in a double pivot at the base of defense to break up attacks. And he said, nah, that's not your role.
That's
You're
not your
good at,
role. No.
that's not your
Yeah.
role. You're good at progressing the ball. You're good at taking shots from just outside the box. You're good at creating chances in and around the box, and you're still good at defensive work. You can do the defensive work, but you don't have to do that much defensive work because you've got Thomas Partey anchored by Zinchenko and Ben White. And don't get me wrong, everyone thinks it's just Thomas Partey breaking up play. It isn't. It's a three-man midfield with two
He's
centre
almost like
backs.
gone box to box, hasn't he, Chaka? You'd say
He is
you'd
box
see.
to box. He
He,
is box to box.
and the really interesting things about him is, I mean, this is what confidence does to footballers, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Really, I mean,
absolutely.
at any
Football's a
level,
confidence game.
is that you start doing things that you'd never associate with the player. I mean, you probably you remember that he's been doing nutmegs and all sorts, hasn't he? He's turning into
Yeah. I've seen it.
prime Ronaldinho at times,
Well,
shooting from
let's
outside
not
of the
get.
box. Well, yeah, that's going too far, obviously. Shooting from outside of the box, 1-2s, nutmegs, rolling the ball, putting his foot on. Like the confidence that Granit Xhaka is in. I'd say, and statistically, he's up there with his goals and assists as well. Midfielder, there's probably not too many that are better than him in the league at the moment.
At the moment, no, he's one of the better midfielders um,
Yeah,
at his job. But I think the important thing is you have to give, and I go back to it, credit to Mikel and the system he
yeah,
plays,
yeah, yeah. I think
right?
so. I agree.
Because
I agree.
because Xhaka is playing as a number 8, right?
Yeah.
And he is playing like a world class number 8 by getting goals and assists. I think this is the most goal moments he's had in a single season in his
This
career.
is true. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely is. But
So
I think you've also touch on Zed, the leadership qualities that he still continues. The captain without the armband, they're calling him, are they?
he is. Look, he's always been a leader in the pack. He's always been vocal. He's always been, and you know what? One day he will be a manager. Let me just put it out there. If he wants to
I
be,
believe he's doing his badges at the moment.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's interesting you
And you know
point
what?
that
Funny
out.
enough, he'll be an Arsenal manager. I'll tell you that.
Well, but possibly. Well, let's again. That might be too far. Again, let's one step
No,
at a
it's
time.
just generally
Yeah,
tends to happen.
it could happen. I mean, he might succeed Mikel Arteta. Let's see. Let's
Well,
see.
not that. Mikel will get poached by Barcelona before any of that happens.
It might
And you
happen.
heard it first here, by the way.
I think I think a lot of people will say as well, just on the ending on the Granit Xhaka and segueing on,
Yeah.
that a lot of people, and certainly a lot of Gooners I speak to, will say that they changed their views about him when they watched the All or Nothing
Yeah, yeah, that
Prime
helped a
Video,
lot. That helped a lot. I think
and it
you
showed,
saw his
didn't it,
qualities as a leader.
the leadership qualities. And actually, it wasn't for me when I
Mm.
watched it. I mean, I always knew or thought he'd been some form of leader, but actually, what a lot of
Mhm.
people have said is that that documentary actually showed there were no leaders in that dressing room. There
Yeah.
were no leaders, and he was literally the only leader. So listen, I
Mhm.
think it's a fantastic story. You could probably make a documentary of Granit Xhaka alone. Before we sort of move on, Zed, I just want to touch, if it's all right, on my
Yeah.
highlights really. I've got three games in particular, and the first one that I want to touch on is the loss at Manchester United. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
nervous day for me, to be honest with you. As
It
always,
always is.
yeah.
It always is.
But
It's something.
we went in really confident. We'd been unbeaten. We'd won all of our games up until that point,
Yep.
and I thought, you know what, this is the year where we won't, just because if you remember, our record at Old Trafford it has never recently been great, but we did a couple of seasons ago beat them up in Old Trafford. I think it was in the COVID season, away. And I thought, do you know something? This is the season where we're actually going to not only beat them, but convincingly beat them. It
I
wasn't to
think the
be.
win that yeah, the win you're talking about is from November 2020, so it was COVID. I think it was COVID season. I don't even remember when
2020 would have been the
COVID.
COVID season, absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
bloody hell, time
And,
flies, isn't
and I thought, you know something? I mean, they weren't showing. They'd come into that with very poor form as well. They'd only just, I think, recently lost to Brighton and Brentford, and I
it? Yeah,
thought, you know, they're not on very good form. We absolutely are smashing it at the moment. I mean, it was at the point that everybody was saying, "Oh, well, you haven't really played anyone," which, to be fair, was partly true, because the most of the
yeah,
teams other than Palace we'd played were generally teams that you'd expect us to beat. But anyway,
yeah.
I watched that game and the performance. I wasn't disheartened. I was disappointed that we lost by 3 goals to 1. But actually, and many of the Manx out there will probably disagree. Big up to our friend Atar, who will say you lost, it doesn't matter. We outplayed them. We outplayed them, and for me, it was a weird sensation, Zed, because it was actually, I felt happy, believe it or not. I actually felt
Yeah.
happy because I thought, do you know something? I don't mind losing, but we performed. We did lose in a really, really naive way. But I tell you where the big
Yeah.
highlight for me was. Now,
Go on.
we would have lost the next game,
Yeah.
because generally speaking, and certainly under Arteta, we'd been win two or three, lose one, lose two or three, win a couple of games, lose one, lose another, win one, and that's how we were a bit jittery. Certainly
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
Arteta. In normal Arsenal history, Ed, we'd have, I mean, especially with our opening result to Brentford last season, where we were
Mm.
absolutely schooled. And I know we had some injuries because of COVID, but we shouldn't have been losing to a promoted team in the fashion that we did. But anyway, we did.
Yeah.
And you could just I just felt like the performance, that if we continue with the way we're playing against United, other than obviously the goals that we leaked and the naivety that we showed at
Yeah.
Old Trafford, I think we can do something. And I tell you something, Zed, I'd have took a
Mm.
scrappy 1-0 away at Brentford. I have not seen Arsenal dominate and play the way that they did away at Brentford in years, Zed.
Yeah.
I had the atmosphere at Brentford, at the community stadium, is probably
Mm.
one of the best atmospheres in the Premier League, in this era, in this year, in
Yeah.
this moment in time, right? To go there
Yeah.
and silence the Brentford fans, that's what we did. We silenced the
Yes.
Brentford
Yeah.
fans,
Yeah.
dominated. So pleased for my boy Vieira as well. So pleased. Beautiful goal from outside of the box. That was a highlight for me, right? I
Yeah.
this is when I thought, do you know something? I can go into the next game, Zed, which was guess who against?
Who? Tell me, tell me, tell
Only
me, tell
the
me.
Tottenham scum Hotspurs, right? Um, Again, which we convince it, but this is the part of the season. You know, people talk about when did you bang, right? That's
Yeah,
when I thought, do you know something? We can take on our day, we can beat any team, right? And that's where, for me, the major highlights were. And then obviously we went into the Tottenham game very, very confident. And I don't get me wrong, I think they're still having that their performances have generally been quite poor. But we went
yeah,
in,
yeah.
we did the job, we dominated, and we are where we are now, Zed.
Yeah, I mean, you say where we are. We're top of the table with 5 points
Yeah,
clear.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a good time to be an Arsenal fan after years
It's
of
an
misery,
amazing
right?
time. It's an amazing
It's
time.
it's an amazing time. So I mean, just going back to your Man U game, I agree with you. The performance was very good. I mean, Arsenal controlled the ball, but it's something that's been creeping up recently, and I think people have been pointing it out as well. And I'm going to use this as a segue later on, but while the performance was good, as you pointed out, there was naivety in the manager. So I just felt like Ten Hag got the better of Arteta because Arteta will stick to his guns. Regardless of what
Yeah,
you do, it's in that regard, he emulates Pep. He will go with his game plan regardless of what happens. He will play
yeah,
the way he wants to play, and you can do nothing,
yeah,
right? And they played the way they want to play, but they got countered. And that's going to be the risk when you're playing with such a high line with your centre backs almost being in the opposition's half. And
yeah,
with players like Rashford, it's going to happen, right?
yeah,
And he's absolutely, you know, absolutely, I can't even find a word. He's very, very good on the break. He's so good in getting
we played
at
into
the back.
United's hands, didn't we,
We
on that day?
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, not
yeah,
enough shots, not enough creativity, a lot of touches, a lot of passes. It was the Arsenal of old, just passing around the back and losing the ball and then getting countered. But there was still a lot of positives. A lot of positives. We didn't come away without a goal. Saka did score. I mean, we should have scored more, to be honest. But again,
mm,
the creativity wasn't the issue. The issue was the finishing. And I want to bring back to that a bit more on the performance overall this season, as we are talking just finally on the highlights. While Arsenal have been good and we've said a lot of positive things so far, I still feel like there is that habit that Arsenal still have on not finishing their chances, right?
mm,
Trust me when I say this. Gabriel Jesus is a brilliant signing for the money that we got him for, and he adds something to the team that is irreplaceable, right? But he needs to finish more of his chances, and we need a secondary option striker. Right now, the way Arteta's team plays is 11 players. There is not really a striker. You see Martinelli, Saka, Jesus all swap. Sometimes you'll see Jesus literally in our half playing as a wing back.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
because that's just a system. But you need a plan B. And that is what we lacked against Manchester United. That is what we lacked against Southampton,
yeah,
right? And that was a critical bit. If you're going against a team as good as Man City, and honestly, when we say we're in the title race, I believe we are, but
mm,
Man City can literally put on anyone from their bench and still get 5 goals against any team, right?
yeah,
And they play in a very similar manner, believe it or not. It's, it's, it's
yeah. Well, that's
they're
years
playing.
of being drilled, isn't it? Really, and
They
being
are, but it's
together.
also
Yeah,
quality. It's also quality in the final third. Erling
yeah,
Haaland, that stupid machine that City has bought for 60 million, which is I think is 60p equivalent, is what they
yeah,
bought him for in
yeah,
football money, has broken the system of how a team can play when you have a good finisher,
yeah,
right? So what Arsenal need, and that was the naivety against Southampton. They should have been 3 up,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right?
The
Is
finishing. Yeah,
finishing, right? It should have been 3 up. Game should have been done at half time. And Arsenal get off what you call a good start against every team. They did that against Liverpool as well. Mind you, bring it back to that big game. We haven't beaten Liverpool in ages,
yeah,
right? So that
yeah.
was a good performance for me
And
as
it was
well.
a convincing win as well against Liverpool. I know the scores don't show always with it when it's obviously we beat them 3-2, but that's the thing as well this season. It's like the control of games. it's there. Even I mean, we've had a few 1-0s, haven't we? I mean, I know if we've had a few in the
1-0 to
Europa
the
League as
Arsenal,
well,
innit?
1-0 to the Arsenal. But not just 1-0s, but I mean, we've won one goal margins. You know,
Yeah, yeah. 2-1.
we 2-1s, 1-0s, and it just feels like. I mean, even the 1-0 against Chelsea. I want to just touch on that very quickly.
Hmm.
I know Chelsea were poor, but look, this is still
Yeah,
Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Um, where I know we've done all right there recently, but it's
we've
a
had a
pressured
very good
game.
record.
We've had a very good record of late, and it's just that kind of Arsenal now are beginning to take advantage of the other team's adversities. I think
Which
that's
is
the
what you
best way
need
I
to
want to
do.
put it. Yeah.
Which is what
So,
you
so,
need to do.
so the Arsenal of old, they'd have
Yep.
probably still gone to to a poor Chelsea, and it had been at best scenario 1-1 or a
Yeah,
draw,
yeah,
3
yeah,
all. Do you know what I mean? And we would have leaked 3 goals, and it would have been, all right, well, we didn't lose, but actually we should have won. We should have beat them. You know.
yeah.
But no, actually, what we're doing is we're actually, other than you're right, other than the naivety against Southampton, and I would probably analyse that a bit differently from you. I would probably say that was Arteta's fault in the 3 substitutions, because I think if he'd have left it
Hmm.
as it was, I don't think we lose that game. To be honest
Yeah.
with you, but that's maybe for another day. We should have been doing pods earlier, eh?
We
But the
should have.
5-0
We should
away
have.
at Nottingham Forest, this is the Nottingham Forest that had just beaten Liverpool the
Uh,
week
I, I,
before, you
no,
know?
no, 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 no. That okay. So that one, Nottingham Forest, I think that is an anomaly, and that is because defensively they were poor. Arsenal controlled the game from
And
top to
that's
bottom.
you're making my point for me though, Zed. That's
No,
the
no, no.
point. The
Yeah, I know,
control.
but the control is there. But what my point is never been about the control. It's about the finishing,
Yeah.
right? Arsenal controlling games, absolutely. I agree with you. What
Mm,
I like to see is the finishing that they did against Nottingham Forest. It's not
yeah.
like Arsenal didn't have the chances to put a 4-0 against Southampton. Of course they did.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
And to
yeah.
be fair, our XG though, even though you say that, and it's a right critique because we should be doing much better, but we've got the highest XG in the league at the moment. Better than Cities. I don't know if you knew that.
It's fine, but we're still not putting away chances that we should. Yeah, we have the highest XG, but when it comes to important games, right? And let's be honest, with 36% of the season through, they're going to be more important games where these chances are going to need to be put away. And
Yeah.
that is my only. So if it might seem like I'm coming out from a negative angle,
No,
but
no,
the only
it's a fair
reason
point. Yeah, yeah,
it's a fair point because it's the same thing. Let's look at the Leeds result, right? Arsenal won 1-0, 1-0 to the Arsenal, but Leeds were the better team.
oh,
Let's have let's
overwhelmingly.
have yeah, let's have it clear. Arsenal won because they were confident and Leeds were rubbish at finishing.
Yeah. And
That's my
and,
point to
and,
make.
and they
If a
saw
team
the
is,
game out well as well, because that's obviously
yeah,
extracted from the point I made as well. Is that I think that was probably the most nervous I've been watching Arsenal this season. If I'm honest with you,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
absolutely
and
right. Leeds should have finished their dinner, and they should have probably beat us 3-1. To be
oh,
fair,
absolutely,
if not
and
more.
yeah, and I'm using Leeds as an example to say you can Arsenal can control the game, and if Leeds, who had less possession marginally, right, but more shots, if they had finished their chances, they would have won.
Yeah,
Arsenal don't want to end up in a situation like Leeds where they control the game, play out of their skin, and everyone says they played wonderfully, but we have 0 points to show for
yeah,
it. Sometimes you can win ugly, but you have to win. I know it's the Antonio Conte way, but and Arsenal don't do that. But sometimes you need to take your chances to be able to get the points
yeah.
because points are what matters at the end of the day.
I'm going to move us on a little bit, Zed,
Go on.
because we're at 33 minutes and we've only got sort of 13, 14 minutes, and we've still got to talk about a couple of things and get a bit of a World Cup plug in as well before
Go
we
on then.
go today. Um, you look, just on your theme of finishing, what I want to just quickly sort of get your view on, really, I guess, if you
Yeah.
like, is I'm kind of curious to know. Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, Now, a lot of the reasons of your critique there are down to his poor finishing. Let's have it right. He's
Hmm.
some of his finishing has been poor, especially the last sort of 6, 7 games. I know he hit the bar at Wolves. I think he probably would have been ruled offside, but anyway, that's happened and it's gone.
Yeah.
Um, does a lot for the team. There's a lot of
Oh,
running around. I
absolutely.
mean, I was at the Molineux.
Essential for the team. Essential
I
for
was
them.
I was at the Molineux. I was at the Molineux Stadium, and I
Mm.
saw him live track Adam. I mean, he's no slouch, is he? Adama Traore tracked him
No,
back to
no.
the halfway line, intercepted the ball, gets back into the box. Um, very, very important player. You take him out of this Arsenal team, and you probably find the level drops. He's setting the scene in terms of the
Yep.
pressing game. He's very, very enthusiastic in pressing. He actually cuts off passes
Yep.
when other teams are
Yes.
trying to play out from the back. He, as I say, he pressures, he intercepts, he does a job of a defender at times. Sometimes he gets back into his own box near the corner flag, whatever, whatever. Um, but he hasn't scored in something like 8 games, I think, for the Arsenal. That's
Yeah.
in all comps. Now, how important and how detrimental is it if this vein of form, and I say that loosely because I don't think he's in bad form because he's still assisted
Yep.
quite a few. So his goals and assists combined, i.e., his goal contributions, are still up there, right?
Yeah.
But he's not finishing his dinner. How detrimental could that be to the Arsenal moving forward?
Oh man. Let me let me be clear first, right?
And
Gabby Jesus.
stick within the time constraints we have, Zed. We have to stick in the
Okay.
time.
Okay. I'm gonna be very quick on this. Uh, Gabby Jesus is absolutely an essential piece for the Arsenal. He is, and I'm gonna quote the great Pep Guardiola here, the best pressing forward in the world. That's it.
Wow.
I'm not gonna say anything more than that. He is the best pressing forward
So you're
in
not
the world.
worried, Zed. You're not worried.
No, because 2 games ago he got 2 assists,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not worried. What I would like to see is a plan B. I know we use Eddie and Nketiah as a plan B. It's not really a plan B. We're getting the exact same player, right?
Yeah.
Eddie is learning his trade from Gabby Jesus. You can clearly see that, right? Eddie presses as much as he tries to finish, but they both have the same issue. What you
Yeah.
need is a plan B, someone who is a big, mean centre back, oh, sorry, centre forward, who's just going to get in there and get his head to the ball. That's it.
And we are going to talk about that in the next segment. We are going to
Yep.
talk about it because we
See,
are going to
I
just
kept it within the time, didn't I?
I love that. I love that. I love that. And you're much better than me at doing that. So, appreciated. Um, we are going to definitely segue into that.
Yep.
The only thing that I was going to say was absolutely that about Eddie Nketiah,
Yep.
is that you take Jesus out of the team and due to an injury or suspension, I mean, I think he was one game away from another yellow card and being suspended.
Hmm.
Do we
Yep.
suffer greatly then? Does the team suffer greatly with Nketiah leading the line in the Premier League?
I think Nketiah did a decent job towards the end of last season. I think
He
he's
did.
proven that he can play the system, right?
Mm,
He can do the job. I don't think we suffered that badly because Nketiah can play with Saka and Martinelli as much,
mm,
right? And we're still waiting for Emil Smith Rowe to get back to full fitness as well. So there is a bit of depth, but I think we still need a another striker that is different, not the same, but different. I
yeah,
wouldn't actually. I don't know who said this or where I heard this, but I wouldn't actually be against Arsenal going for a older um, centre forward just for half a season or season, even going as far as to say, you know what, go to Milan, say we'll pay hundred pounds for Olivier Giroud, right,
yeah,
and get him back into the team because you have someone who's different and will bring something different because sometimes the teams are harder to break down and they're not playing the way conventionally they do, and the centre backs are getting close to Jesus. And while Jesus is brilliant in with his feet and is not finishing the chances, you put Jesus out on the wing because remember he can play on the wing,
you can,
and
yeah.
bring on an Olivier Giroud and say, mate, you camp out in the box, I'll do the rest.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
Milan did that to win the Scudetto last year by having Giroud and Ibrahimovic with a combined age of nearly what 70,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can do that. So that's the kind of thing that I want Arsenal to explore. And it'll be dirt cheap in footballing terms, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I do agree with you that a different element, different dimension. I think Arsenal eventually if we continue to play as we have been, we could eventually get found out. I think we probably can be a little bit predictable if I was going to critique.
Yeah,
I think that where we are thankful, and this is where I was kind of going with the Nketiah thing, is that luckily we've got everybody chipping into goals now. Odegaard is the highest scorer for us at the club
6 goals
now.
now. Yeah.
We've got Saka, who's scoring and assisting. I mean, we're going to get
Hmm.
onto at some point in the next week or so the England conversation about who starts.
Yep.
And we've got obviously Jesus assisting as well, so
Yep.
he's contributing and he's doing all of the. But the final thing that I'm going to just sort of end on myself
Yeah.
is this is what I think. I actually think it's not just about the player. I think there's a bit of a tactical tweak that needs to happen here. And if you recall, again, you're going to say, why does Harry keep on talking about pre-season? Is
Yeah.
actually he was banging goals in pre-season, and when
He
I
was.
analyse the games, the difference between what he does in the Premier League compared to what he was doing in the pre-season games is he was
Hmm.
actually playing on the shoulder. He was getting in the box a lot more. He wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily getting back. And I just think if I was having a conversation, I mean, who the hell am I? But if I was talking to Jesus now, and I don't know what
Yeah.
Arteta's telling him, I'd say keep doing what you're doing, but there's periods of the game where you need to be selfish, right?
Yeah.
And you need to let some of the others do the mucky work, right? Yeah. And what you need to be doing is you need to be saying, right, I am going to be selfish now. I'm playing into that sort of final third, last man on the cuff of the
Mm.
shoulder, and I'm going to be making runs in behind. I want to go in one on one, and I want to score because I want to be selfish and I want
Yeah.
to score goals. That's what I would
Yeah.
say to him because that's what he was doing in pre-season. Didn't he score something like 4 or 6 or 7 goals or something like that in pre-season?
Uh, he got a hat trick against Seville, and I think he got a couple against
Chelsea,
Chelsea as well.
yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
yeah.
Something
So
like that. Five or six goals.
that's the Jesus I want to see come back, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that he shouldn't get back and help fight for the team because I think let's be honest here, Zed. He's trying to impress the manager as well to keep his place in the team. You know, he's come from an elite team at the end of the day, and he knows what it takes all around the pitch. But I do think that for periods of the game, and we'll end on this, is that he needs to be a little more selfish. Let's move on then, Zed, because we've not got
Go
very
on.
long left.
Yep.
And I have to always get my own little bit in, don't I, really? We've got
Go
about
on then.
5 minutes or so. But
Yep.
before we just quickly touch on the World Cup and what we'll be
Yep.
doing through the World Cup, I want to just get your views on what do Arsenal need in the January transfer window. And I'm going to ask you this in
Yeah.
the vein of let's say as it is, we are in a title challenge now. We're going for
Yep.
the league, and we can
Yep.
actually win the league, right? Because
Yes.
City aren't um, City aren't always on top form. You could see even with
No.
Haaland in the team the other day, there are issues
Yep.
when you're
Of
trying to
course.
play direct, and that's where
Yep.
they'll. Don't get me wrong. The next game, they'll probably next 10 games, they'll probably come out and smash 5-0 every team. It could very much happen, but the fact
Yes.
remains is in the league table does not lie. Zed, we are top of the league. We're 5 points clear, and we are in a title challenge. What do we need, Zed, in the January window to continue with that title challenge and hopefully bring that trophy home?
Okay. I'm gonna keep it very, very simple, right? Uh, Arsenal lack in two departments currently. The defense is stacked, right? So you got enough defenders. I think probably I would say if you were being spoiled, get another left-footed centre back, but we don't really need it
But Arsenal don't
right now.
spoil, do they? Let's be honest.
No, no, they don't
Yeah.
spoil. So I think what you need is a winger, someone who's capable of playing both right or left wing,
Okay.
right? Because Saka and Martinelli are playing a lot of games. At the same time, I would say we need a centre midfielder, a number eight, right? There's a couple on for should be very cheap. Tielemans got 6 months left on his contract. Douglas Luiz, who Arsenal were in for towards the end of the
He's
transfer
signed a
window in the
contract
summer,
now, hasn't he? Yeah.
Has he signed a
He
contract? Oh
signed a
bloody hell!
contract to Villa, yeah, yeah, some
Oh,
weeks ago.
he's
Yeah,
gone then. He's gone now. So
he's gone.
Villa ain't selling that. So
No,
that one's the wrong shout. But Tielemans, I think, still in the market, right?
yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Houssem Aouar from Lyon. I don't know
Oh,
if he signed a
interesting.
contract,
Yeah,
but he could do the number eight role. He could
yeah,
do the Xhaka role. But to be honest, what we need isn't a number eight. What we need is a party backup,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Get whoever that is, whether it's Sergio Milinkovic Savic, who will cost you 60, 70 million, or some unknown gem
Well,
from
there's links
Brazil.
to the Danilo, isn't there, from Brazil,
Danilo, yeah,
the
yeah,
youngster.
exactly. Yeah. So, but again, a youngster is the same thing as Lakonga. I don't think Lakonga is ready to do that role yet. I think Lakonga is better as an eight. So I
Mm.
would look at Lakonga as more of a natural heir
And,
to
and, and,
Xhaka's
and
role.
we are, guys, in future pods in the next few weeks, we are going to break some of these things down. We're going to go through
Exactly.
each
Yeah, yeah.
player and we're going to go through whether how good a season they've been. And Lakonga will obviously have an analysis from us both. But so you think, Zed, let me just sort of summarize
Yeah.
for you. We need two players. You're saying that
I would say
somebody
three. I would say
three.
three.
Okay,
So
so who's your third one
winger,
then?
defensive midfielder, and the Plan B striker, which I've already touched on in like an
Yeah,
Olivier Giroud and
you
Edin
did.
Dzeko,
You did. You
something
did.
like that.
I mean, I to be quite honest with you, and I can promise you, listeners, we haven't had this conversation. We are trying to leave
No,
our conversations spontaneous for you, so they don't
absolutely,
sound
mate.
predictable. I promise you, we haven't had a conversation about this um, prior to the pod. I'm going to agree with you, to be honest with you.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah, rarely. I'm not going to. I can't see Arsenal signing a left-footed centre back because I think that can wait until the
no.
summer. Danny AFC TV is absolutely going to berate me if I don't big up Saliba before we go. So yes,
Is that a
Danny,
Saliba plug, mate? That's it.
Saliba is having an amazing season, right? Ben White is also having an amazing season, but Saliba is, for his age, he is smashing it, and it's him, which is the reason why we don't need to. We can wait until the summer for another centre back because Gabriel is also smashing it. Okay, he's got the odd mistake
Yes.
in him, but he is smashing it, right? So yeah, I don't think we need a centre back in the January window. I would
No.
agree with you, but one thing you didn't do, Zed, and I am going to do this for you,
Go
is you
on.
didn't put a name on a winger for me. Now I know that we have been linked to Mudrich um,
I didn't do it on
from.
purpose because I don't think there is
Well,
a
I'm going to
natural
get
fit.
you. I'm going to get your name in a
Go on.
second. But I'm
Go
going to
on.
see if you agree with me first, if that's
Go
all
on.
right. Yeah.
Go
So
on.
we've got Mudrich from Kiev,
Yep.
which has been linked, and some of the flirtatious comments that he's been making about the Arsenal in the media in the last few
Hmm.
days. He did an interview with the wife of Zinchenko. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen or
No,
heard
I've
about
not
that.
seen that. I've not seen that.
Oh, you
Yeah.
need to go and check that out. Yep, he
Okay.
actually it was a come and get me plea. So, but there's a very good chance that Kiev might price us out of that because they want a lot of
They
money.
will
But
do.
anyway,
They will do.
for me though, if I'm honest with you,
Mm.
if we were going for the league, the name that I'm going to mention is a certain Wilfred Zaha because I think
Oh.
that he will hit the ground running and
Hmm.
he will absolutely add those goals and finishing that you have talked about very eloquently earlier in
Yep.
the squad. So I wouldn't be against. I mean, look, he's got 3 or 4, maybe 5 years at the top level in his game. He's look. I don't need to. Everybody knows about Wilfred Zaha and his qualities, but he loves Arsenal. He's an Arsenal signing, and I think it would be a big um, fingers up to Manchester United who let him go when they should have really waited with him. I'm going to absolutely agree with you on the cover for Thomas Partey. It's an area that
Hmm.
I worry about in terms of his fitness
Yep.
and his ability to stay fit across the season. Um, but again, we need somebody who is probably going to be able to content with sit on the bench because Thomas Partey is our main guy. He's one of the first names on the team sheet. So I'm happy. I don't mind going for a Danilo, somebody who's going
Yep.
to learn the trade but can come in and do the job. Anybody that's just better than Lakonga, but we'll talk about Lakonga another day. And I'm absolutely in agreement with the third need for a different kind of striker because I agree with you
Yep.
again that Nketiah is too similar to
Yep.
Jesus, and I
Yes.
do think that somebody like I would love. a Mitrovic. I would
Oh,
love a
mate, you're not
Mitrovic.
getting Mitrovic.
We're
You're
not
not
going to
getting
get
Mitrovic.
Mitrovic, but somebody in that kind of mould, you know.
A
Um,
mean centre forward,
a
mate.
mean
That's what you
centre.
need.
I'd take an Olivier Giroud. I would absolutely
Yeah,
somebody that knows that they're going to be able to sit on the bench and they're going to be used in those last 10 minutes to come on
exactly.
and the ball just sort of being loaded into the box in crosses and somebody could header. I'd love the chap from Newcastle, who's the English lad who's gone to the World Cup. I forgot his name
Callum
now.
Wilson. Callum Wilson.
Wilson. That kind of
Yeah,
player would do me, but
you're
again,
not
it's not
getting
going to
Wilson,
happen. We're not getting Wilson. That's it from me on
and
on on
you're not
signings.
getting Zaha.
We're not getting
Let me
Zaha probably either now. But I think we're probably aligned with each other. But tell me, do you agree with me? Disagree, Zed?
look. All the three players that you've named, you're not going to get right. Let's be very honest. Crystal
Mudrick.
Palace.
Mudrick is probably a
No,
possibility.
Modric. Look, Modric. I wouldn't go on principle because if you put that much money on a youngster who's having his breakout season, you're literally killing him. I just fundamentally now disagree with big money moves over 50, 60 million. I think that's not the market Arsenal need to play in, regardless of how young the player is. It just doesn't work because the scrutiny, we've seen it happen with Pepe, right? Pepe
Yeah.
is a lost cause now. You can see him play for Nice, he's a shadow. There's no player there anymore, right? I fundamentally disagree. For the lad, he shouldn't be moving. If Kiev want 80 million, tell the lad to stay there, get his contract finished, and then he can get a bigger packet for himself because he is that good. But
Mm,
any club who wants him, and I'll tell you who'll get him, it'll be Newcastle because they want him as backup for Alan St. Maximan,
mm.
right?
Well, they've got the
Ars-
money. Yeah.
they've got the money. They've got the money. But I still don't want, but there won't be that pressure at Newcastle yet.
Mm,
In
mm.
4 years' time, when Newcastle is at the level where they will be, they will be. Let's just be honest. It may not even be 4 years. They're having a brilliant season, right?
Yeah.
They may
Yeah.
already be a top four team. They look like one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And right. So I don't agree with Modric. I think he's a good player, but if Kiev want anything, I think Arsenal submitted a bid of about 35 million in the summer and they rejected it, right? I think Arsenal need to hold their
Speculation.
guns.
Yeah, there was speculation on
Speculation,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think he's got 6 months left in his contract or something. No need to
Yeah.
pay. It may be a year and 6 months. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. I think it's more than 6 months. But yeah, go on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but whatever it may be, I don't think it's worth it. If you want a player that can be on the bench and you want as a secondary striker, look in the championship.
Yeah.
You've seen players come from the championship and fit well. I'm going to name Ivan Toney,
Yeah.
right? Mitrovic. Both these players have come from the championship and have done very well. You can get a cheap player from championship who is young and he can fit in. I don't know. Maybe try an Ismail Assar, though I don't rate him that highly. I think he's okay, right, from
Yeah.
Watford. But someone like that from the championship
Okay.
who is doing
Okay.
good. Michael Elise from Crystal Palace, also from the championship, I think. Eze, also from the championship. They've been championship players. Get that, and that's the business Arsenal need to do. Arsenal need to stick to their guns of going for younger players who can develop and are cheaper.
Okay.
That's
Okay. No, that's fine. I think that's a
yeah.
good summary. Right, Zed, not tell us, tell the listeners a little bit about what we can expect over the next few days and the after the start of the World Cup this Sunday. What can they can
Okay,
expect to
okay.
get from us
So we're gonna be going live. We're gonna be doing some live streams on
on the old
YouTube,
YouTube? Yeah.
on the old YouTube, trying to cover the games, especially the England games. Okay,
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
England fans here. No more
Yeah.
clubs. It's all united front. It's
Yeah.
coming home, right? That's where we are. So we're gonna be doing live streams at least after every England game, right? Covering what's happening. We'll cover also what's happening with the Arsenal players that are at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah. Yeah.
Thomas Partey
Definitely
for
need to follow
Ghana,
them. Yeah.
your
Yeah.
Granit Xhaka for Switzerland, right? And you got Saka, Ramsdale, Ben White for England, right?
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
cover, see what's going on, and react to any injuries or what that could mean to the Arsenal season.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want injuries. Hopefully, everyone comes back fit and healthy.
Let's get a pod in as well prior to the
Yep,
first England game if possible.
yep. If
Zed,
possible, yeah,
where
absolutely.
we can try we can compare lineups.
Yes, absolutely,
Should we
absolutely.
do that? And
Yeah,
who Southgate might likely to start with and who we want?
I
Should we
can
do
tell
that?
you who Southgate will start with because Southgate is a creature of habit. So Harry Maguire will be the centre back.
Let,
Let
whoa,
me
whoa,
tell
whoa,
you this
whoa,
now.
whoa, whoa! Let's not let's save it until the time. Let's not ruin it for the listeners, hey guys. They're about to bookmark us then until you gave it up. Right, I've been Harry Carnu, and you can catch me at Harry Carnu. That's Khanu at at Harry Carnu on Twitter. I haven't done this for so long, Zed. Honestly, I'm losing
Absolutely,
it.
mate. You're losing it.
And what's your Twitter handle? Because I can't, for the love of God, remember what that is either.
You can follow me at ZTAGP. TAGP stands for the Organist Podcast. Send us a message if you'd like to be on the podcast, and we'll get you on and have a good catch up and a discussion.
Good stuff, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Um, as I say, look out for further pods through the World Cup. We'll be discussing everything Arsenal. And I've been Harry Khan, Hazard Khan, whatever you want to call me. You've been Zed. Give us a quick goodbye.
Yeah, mate. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I hope we haven't bored you. Have a good back. That's all I
No,
can say.
definitely not. Definitely not. Take care, guys. Peace out.